Ava tells Rick someone changed Heather's results. October 3, 2024. Rick gets a break in Heather's case, and Ava gives him something to think about. All products and services featured are independently chosen by editors. However, Soaps.com may receive a commission on orders placed through its retail links, and the retailer may receive certain auditable data for accounting purposes. Related story. General Hospital's Laura is finally coming home. Here's one. Outside of Bobby's, Lucky sees Elizabeth inside ordering coffee. He heads in, and she is surprised to see him. They exchange smiles and flash back to their first meeting. Lucky tells her that she hasn't changed, and they embrace. She assumes he's exhausted. He is, but he's also hungry and hopes the menu hasn't changed with the place's name, which he likes. Liz says it hasn't and orders him a cheeseburger and onion rings. He thought he'd see her at General Hospital. She says she's heading in now. He notes it's a little late. She tells him that making your own hours is a perk of being head nurse. He congratulates her and knows Aunt Bobby would be proud. He was hoping they could sit and talk, and she agrees. Lucky digs into his burger, and Liz asks about what he's been through. He briefly recounts the tale of his friend Isaiah, the crooked Sidwell, and Anna and Jason coming to his rescue. He says it wasn't a big deal. Liz suggests he make it a big deal so their son thinks he was away for a good reason. She also knows he's here for Lulu, not Aiden, so be mindful of what he says to him. He says he won't make Aiden any promises he can't keep. Liz has to head to the hospital, and he asks to accompany her. Out front of Bobby's, Lucky compliments her sign. She asks if Carly told him she painted it, but he says he'd know her brushstroke anywhere. He asks about Aiden, but Liz feels it's best he learns about Aiden from Aiden. At Pentonville, Molly visits with her mother. She tells her mother she needs to do everything to defend herself, which does not include getting herself sent to prison so Sonny won't be. Alexis sees Martin has a big mouth, and she thinks her best chance is to find the weapon she tossed. Molly says neither Sam nor the PCPD have found it so far. She is furious that her mother is putting her life on the line to protect Christina. She asks who will pull Christina back up from the brink when she screws up next time if their mother is behind bars. Alexis was hoping she and Sam would. Molly insists she won't, and Christina needs to admit to her mistakes before they can have a relationship. Alexis says Christina is suffering from severe postpartum depression and can't make right-minded decisions right now. Molly asks what about the lifetime of bad choices she's made. Alexis says she's a mother, and she has to protect her child. Molly takes that to mean only a mother can understand what she's going through and storms off. Alexis tries to stop her from saying that's not what she meant and mutters, "I'd do it for you too." Rick visits with Heather. She appreciates he hasn't given up on her, as she hasn't given up on herself. She tells Rick about her new cellmate and thinks if Alexis can win her case, then she can too. Rick says they are vastly different cases, and she killed multiple people. Heather insists she wasn't born a serial killer, and something made her one. She says one day her grandson will know why she went to prison, and she won't let him think she was a killer at heart. She tells Rick she needs his help and that there must be some new tactic he can try. Later, Alexis returns to her cell, where Heather also is. Heather says she knows her way around here and offers to look out for Alexis, as she'll need it. Alexis asks what she gets in return. Heather is glad she asked and wants someone who believes in her, like Molly believes in Alexis. Alexis asks Heather what Rick said about her case, having spotted them chatting in the visitor center. Heather reveals that the test results came in and it isn't looking good for her. Alexis suggests she has more tests run and see if it paints a different picture. Heather likes the idea and finally has a bit of hope. At the gallery, Ava gets off the phone as Trina arrives. Ava tells her that she's going to need to step back from running the gallery when her trial starts, and she'd like Trina to run it in her place. Trina is honored but doesn't know if she'll have the time. She reveals she's returning to PCU and needs to cut her hours. Ava is proud of her. Trina says she's realized she needs to move on from Spencer and Esme and get out of her comfort zone. Later, Ava is alone when Rick arrives with some good news. He may be able to get the statement she made to the police right after the fall thrown out. Ava says that is good news. He wishes he had better news for all his clients. Ava assumes that he is speaking of Heather and calls her the town pariah. Rick points out Ava used to have that honor, and they both know what it feels like to have all of Port Charles hate you. He says Heather wants the right to live her life like anyone else. Rick says Heather sounds repentant and remorseful, which doesn't sound like a murder to him. He gets a text, and it's the new lab results that don't match General Hospital's. Ava asks if this confirms his theory, and Rick says it does. He tells her it appears the cobalt poisoning was responsible for Heather's mental break, but how does he argue against the numbers from General Hospital? He says maybe someone made a mistake entering the numbers. Ava suggests it might not have been a mistake. He asks if she is saying someone altered the tests deliberately. Ava notes it wouldn't be the first time it happened. He asks who would do that. Ava replies, someone who wants Heather kept behind bars. At the Savoy, Curtis confronts his father about the latest secret he's kept. Curtis explains he just got a call about him joining the Wynton Marsalis tour, and this is the big time. Marshall says he isn't taking the gig as he committed to running the club while Curtis worked at Aurora. Curtis says he can find someone to run this place, even if he has to do it himself. Marshall wants to do this so that he can make up for being a terrible father. Curtis says he'd be a terrible son if he let him give up on his dream. He wants his dad to go and live his life to the fullest and show TJ, Trina, and Aunt Stella that you can achieve your dreams. Marshall says he'll take the tour gig on 2 conditions. 1, the family comes see him play, and 2, that Curtis calls him if running the Savoy and Aurora at the same time becomes too much. Curtis says it won't, congratulates his dad, and they hug. Dante arrives at the hospital and brings cookies for the staff for taking good care of Lulu. He drops them off with Portia. Later, Portia runs into Brad, and she asks why he's here. Brad explains he works here, but Portia knows he's not on schedule yet. Brad says someone called in sick, and he was asked to fill in. He is trying to be a model employee, and he won't screw this up, as he owes it to Britt. Portia assumes he got Terry to hire him by playing the dead best friend card. Brad asks why his presence here bothers her so much. She flashes back to changing the lab results, and then brings up Brad's ethical issues in the past and notes that he's still on probation. Brad says that's why he wants to just put in his hours and is keeping his head down. Later, Trina arrives and asks her mom, who is lost in thought over Brad, if she's okay. Portia says she has a lot going on. She asks Trina if she talked to Ava about cutting back her hours, and Trina says did. Trina sees Brad walking through the hall and is surprised he's back working here. She says Stella calls him a bad egg. Jason sits with Lulu and is grateful he and Anna could help her. Dante enters as Jason leaves, and he thanks Jason for what he and Anna did for Lulu. Sam arrives and runs into Jason in the halls. She is glad he's okay, and she understands why he took off to help save Lulu. She knows it's just who he is. He is sorry he didn't tell her before taking off. She suggests he talk to Danny about up and leaving. Jason says it was his next stop. Sam thanks Jason for doing what he did, and she knows Dante and Rocco are grateful to him. She also says if anyone gives him hell for being himself, including her, to ignore them. Jason says it means a lot that she understands why he had to go. She says it means a lot that he apologized for not telling her before he went. Jason turns to leave and comes face to face with Liz and Lucky. Deo approaches them and tells Lucky they need to run one last test before the donation, so they head off to draw his blood. Liz then embraces Jason and is glad he's home safe. Lucky soon returns and Jason departs. Liz must get to work, and Lucky guesses it's time he sees Aiden. He thanks Liz for everything and has a good feeling about all of this. Liz replies, so do I. Sam goes to Lulu's room where Dante is sitting with her. She tells him about her conversation with Jason, and Dante calls it a real adult conversation. He asks if this means they are turning a corner. She says it's a work in progress, and right now they need to focus on Lulu. Dante wants Sam to know that the person he needs and couldn't do this without is her. Next on General Hospital, Brooke Lynn tells Chase it may take the both of them to get the truth out of her. Trina tells Joss and Gio that whatever they are trying to do, the answer is no. Isaiah is up and on his feet and tells someone that one day he may take him up on that. Rick asks Ava who she's protecting. Carly asks someone, after everything you've been through, are you sure you are up for it? Lucky tells Sunny, we both know I should have been here all along. Violet declares, he's a mean bully and I hate him.